And thanks for staying with us in the news at 7. Governors of the 36 states of the Federation have raised concern over the planned deduction of the Paris Club loan refund by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The states are asking the federal government not to tamper with funds accruing to them and the 774 local government councils under the guise of satisfying an alleged $480 million London Paris Club loan refund, stating they were not parties to any contract or suits concerning any refund from which the said judgment debts arose. The states in a document said they were not liable to any person or entity in any judgment debt being relied on by the federal government. Speaking through the body of Attorneys General of the Federation, the states warned further that should the federal government proceed to make any of such deduction, it would be acting illegally and in contempt of their appeal challenging the judgment. They gave the warning in a letter dated April 4 as part of the response to a November 11, 2021 letter from the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning advertising commencement of the deduction for the liquidation of the alleged judgment debts. The reply of the states was signed by the body of Attorneys General of the Federation, Interim Chairman Muyosoro Nugbanju of Lagos State and Interim Secretary Dr. Abdulkarim Abubakar Khan of Nasarawa State, as well as the Attorneys Generals of Rivers, Abia, Taraba, Benue and Zamfara states, for and on behalf of all the state attorneys general. In this next story, the images are quite explicit. We cannot broadcast it, but the Lagos State government has shut down all branches of Chrisland schools in various parts of the state over a viral sex video involving its pupils. The pupils were on a trip to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, for a competition where a video emerged showing two of the students engaging in the act in the presence of other students. A statement from the government said the matter was being investigated. Meanwhile, the Lagos State Police Command says it has commenced investigations into the matter, saying it's to establish the identities of the players in the video, the true incident, geographical location of the incident, an alleged threat to life against the students of the school, and circumstances surrounding the alleged repeated pregnancy tests conducted without parental consent. The command says it's equally taking cognizance of the cybercrime angle to the whole episode and would not hesitate to enlist the support of the Interpol should the need arise. For more on this, let's talk to a human rights lawyer and executive director in Victors Africa, Buki Shonabare, who joins us from Leicester in United Kingdom. Yet another sad video involving a group of minors. I'd like you to first react to what appears to be the indiscriminate sharing of this video on all social media platforms. Talk to us about the moral and legal angle to this.
Thank you. I think the fact that that incident happened is an unfortunate incident, and it is particularly sad because Chrisland schools has actually, been found wanting in relation to issues like this, and news reports have shown to that effect. When it comes to cases of social media sharing of pornographic or sexual activities, especially as it relates to minor, the Cybercrimes Act is actually quite clear on that. And when we look at sections 23 and 24 of the Cybercrimes Act, it criminalizes the sharing of such kind of videos, especially as it does not serve the interest of both the victims, the children in this case, and then their parents particularly. So it's an act that is criminalized, and those who watch it or share it are actually, committing a crime based on the Cybercrimes Act.
The parents of the girl in this video is alleging rape. How does the law define this, particularly when you consider that the actors in this video are all minors? Rape is expected to be a forceful sexual act without consent. You're looking at a group of minors in this particular case. How does the law mirrors what we are witnessing now?
So Nigerian law is silent as it relates to statutory rape. Generally, and by statutory rape, which is the argument in relation to the Chrisland schools case, is to say that when a child when rape occurs between presumably an adult and a child who has not attained the statutory age of consent, then such kind of action or such kind of act is deemed as statutory rape. Now, Section 31 of the Child Rights Act clearly states that 18 years is the age of consent. Now, when we look at the Chrisland case issue, we see that these children are between 11 and 13 years old. So generally, they do not fall under the age for us to claim that or to say that statutory rape has actually happened. But our criminal laws generally, i.e. Section 357 of the Criminal Code Act, Section 282 of the Penal Code Act, and then Section 1 of the Violence Against Persons Prohibitions Act, that is the VAP Act. None of it talks about statutory rape. So none of the laws we currently have in Nigeria contemplate situation where both the perpetrators and the victims, as is this case, are minors or they are children. If any legal action or criminal action is brought, it will have to be decided based on the general case of rape. I'll close my thoughts by saying that what countries like the UK and US have done is to enact what they call the Romeo and Juliet laws, or what they call the closing age exemption. Such exemption contemplates that rape could also happen between minors. And when such rape happens, what that law then does is to serve as a legal basis to prevent criminal prosecution, of both the perpetrators and the victims, considering that they are close in age and generally within 4 years apart. So our laws generally is silent on statutory rape, and no exemption in our criminal law, provides for that. And finally, even if a crime is presumed to have been committed, which has not been committed in this regard, the law that will be used for these children will be our Children and Young Persons Act, that's the CYPA. But we must note that in that particular provision, in that particular law, it is provided that children between the ages of 7 and 12 cannot be held criminally responsible unless it can be proven that such children have the capacity, and capacity here we mean mental capacity, for them to be able to know that their actions or omission should not have been carried out in the first place, and if they know the implication of such actions.
There's the question of whether or not the police has jurisdiction in this case, given the fact that it didn't take place within Nigeria. To what extent do you think that this particular case can be pursued legally in Nigeria?
So in this particular case, because it happened outside of the jurisdiction of Nigeria, first is the fact that there can be some form of jurisdiction for Nigeria, considering that this case happens with Nigerian citizens and who are guided by Nigerian laws. Now, the question is, the issue that has happened, is it currently a crime in Nigeria? It is not currently a crime in Nigeria. So as a result, we cannot say that there is some form of jurisdiction. Section 36, subsection 8 of the Nigerian Constitution essentially says that a person cannot be held guilty, or a person cannot be said to have committed a crime if such act does not constitute a crime at the time that it was committed. As it is right now, none of Nigerian laws, have actually provided that sort kind of act between children, as in this case, is a crime. And so we cannot say that there will be some form of maybe repatriation or anything in that regard, considering that there are children here and that act is not criminalized. What can be done, in closing my thought, is that first, there seems to have been negligence on the part of Chrisland School. And because there is negligence, the parents of the children can actually bring an action against Chrisland School. Administrative actions can also be taken by the Lagos State government in this particular regard. Issues around pregnancy tests that was carried out without the consent of the parents can also be brought, considering the contract that exists between parents and children that are going to school. And finally, on the basis of the fact that we expect that such schools should have policies that address issues like this, and so the implications or the penalties that apply in that regard should also be invoked in this particular situation.
Perhaps in the future we have time to talk about how we can protect our social media space. You know, they say the internet never forgets, and you're considering the implication that this is going to have on the actors in this video in the future. Buki Shonabara is a human rights lawyer and executive director in Invictus Africa. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
To security matters now. Troops of the Multinational Joint Task Force have killed 10 Boko Haram and Islamic State of West Africa province commanders, as well as over 100 terrorists during land and air clearance operations. The operation, codenamed Operation Lake Sanity, is a joint and combined operation involving the Multinational Joint Task Force troops from Nigeria, Niger, and Cameroon, as well as troops from the Operation Hadinke, as well as the air task forces of the MNJTF and OPHK, other security agencies, and the Civilian Joint Task Force. According to a statement by spokesman for the MNJTF, Colonel Mohammed Dole, some of the areas cleared by the troops include Zenari, Arena Woje, which served as a major fabrication workshop for the terrorists. However, 18 soldiers were wounded, while 3 others and a member of the CJTF paid the supreme price during that operation. He listed some of the commanders killed to include Abubakar Dan Buduma, Abubakar Shua, Abu Ali, and Abu Jubrila, among others. We'll take a short break now, and I'll be back with more stories. Stay with us. It's more than 4 months that police officers allegedly killed one Eleyele and Mubarak Sonyaolu at Command Bus Stop Ikpaja area of Lagos. The family members say nothing has yet been done by the authorities. Kemi Foladiemo has more in this report.
On November the 4th, 2021, terror took over this area after police officers invaded. Eyewitnesses say they struck, invoking terror around. That day lifts a dark cloud in the world of Olamileko and Bidemi Sonyaolu after their 14-year-old son, Mubarak, was killed. Mubarak just enrolled to SS1 at the time, though we were poor, but I thank God someone helped to foot his school bills.
I reluctantly came out to the street and I saw a crowd. I then heard someone shouting that the vulcanizer's boy had been hit. I saw Mubarak's head on the pavement. His intestines had spilled out. I ran to him and shouted his name. We rushed him to a nearby Savannah hospital, but he died on the way.
According to Mr. Sonyaolu, who's currently out of work, he and several others carried the corpse to the police station, which they left there. They were eventually chased away by the officers who tear-gassed them. By the Meron Divisional Police, headed by SP Shonubi Toyosi, who reportedly told them to come and collect the corpse for burial and move on with their lives.
The police didn't do anything. I went there with some people to see the DPO, who said she would do something. Later, she called me and apologized about the incident. I told her to stop begging me about it. She then said the case had gone beyond her, as it is her bosses that will handle it.
In their quest for justice, the Sonyaolu's council has also filed a 1 billion naira suit against the Nigeria police. The legal team is also demanding the immediate arrest and prosecution of all officers found to be culpable, including SP Shonubi.
We have filed since around February or so. We have not been assigned a judge. The slow snail speed of assignment of cases of the High Court of Lagos State has caught up with us. That's how spectacular Mubarak Sonyaolu's case is. It shows a mirror of the fact that nothing fundamentally has been done by Lagos State government in terms of curbing police brutality in Lagos State.
I spoke with the police spokesman of the Lagos Command.
The case, like you rightly said, has gone beyond the DPO. It has been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department. And the State Criminal Investigation Department too has more or less concluded their investigation, and a case file is ready. But, you know, as is the case with homicide cases, these case files have to go to the DPP, the Department of Public Prosecution. They have to give their input before you actually start prosecution. He also faced appropriate disciplinary measures within the force.
The Sonyaolus are presently staying with kind-hearted persons temporarily amidst the hope that they will get the justice they desperately seek. Kemi Folademo, TVC News, Lagos.
In other news now, the Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland has warned his subjects to desist from smuggling and venture into legitimate trade, noting that smuggling kills economy and development of a nation. He made this known during the visit of the Controller of Customs Ogun 1 Area Command to his palace in Abeokuta. TVC News' Kazim Olowe reports.
For Nigeria economy to further develop, citizens must cooperate with the government and do away with things that can affect the progress of the economy. The Alake and paramount ruler of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Gbadebo, made this known during the visit of the Controller of Customs Ogun Area 1 Command to his palace. He vowed not to plead on behalf of any smugglers caught with contraband by the customs.
Since 2019 August, the government has found it expedient to close some of the borders. The Ijiroko border happens to be one of them, and all the borders in Ogun State. So we have been doing skeletal services of administration in the office. But be that as it may, I found it very, very important that we should be in the palace today, in the palace of the paramount ruler of Egbaland and the foremost ruler in Ogun State.
Without revenue, no government can survive. And therefore, I've always told them they should never come to me when they have problems with customs. I'm not going to beg to have their goods returned to them. I'm not going to beg to have their vehicles returned to them. I will encourage them to do legitimate business, not to be smuggling, because some people have taken it as part of normal business. It is abnormal.
On his part, the Agura of Bagura, who is also a retired customs officer, said people always say they venture into the illicit trade due to economic hardship, but no matter the situation, venturing into crime is not the solution and can never be the solution. He appealed to people to always do what is right in the interest of the country.
Because no matter what, you can't say because you're hungry, that's why you're going to go smuggling or whatever. If you are caught, you go to jail. You forfeit your gun, you forfeit your vehicle. No matter how bad it is in the country, you don't have to commit crime.
The comptroller promised that his men will continue to perform their duties, urging stakeholders to continue to support them against smuggling in the country. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta.
And now to politics. The Taraba State Chapter of the All Progressives Congress has sworn in 35 members of the party's State Working Committee in spite of the court judgment that sacked State Executive led by Ibrahim El Sudi. The party says reconciliation talks will continue as it has already filed an appeal seeking the Court of Appeal's nullification of the judgment passed by Justice Simon Amubeda of Federal High Court Jalingo. Correspondent Owulabi Adenose filed this report.
Political activities are picked up at the State Secretariat of the All Progressive Congress in Taraba State, despite court ruling that sacked the party State Working Committee. The party state chairman, Ibrahim El Sudi, insists that the party will leave no stone unturned to wrestle power from the state ruling People Democratic Party, adding that the party has appealed court judgment that sacked its executive.
With the acrimony, with all this crisis, it will not take us to anywhere. Unity is the only cardinal issue that can bring APC in Taraba State. And the moment we don't capture the government house in Taraba State, we are just wasting our time. It will just be jamboree of pandemonium. We will continue to be to meet, make noise, quarrel with each other, disperse without achieving anything. Let us know that God is the ultimate giver of power.
The party says it will not be deterred by court ruling, but will put its house in order ahead of the 2023 general election. APC stakeholders are doing all humanly possible to resolve their differences to avoid another Zamfara incident in the state.
You have heard it from the speeches that ensued. The party, being the only living opposition party, has been in shambles. And so it's one of the feelings of the distinguished senator to try to reposition it, to be able to fight and fight well in order to take over the mantle of leadership of Taraba State in 2023.
The chairman rightly said, just joined us. This signifies that it is not how long you have been a member of the APC, but how well you are a member of the APC. It is very important.
Political pundits believe the recent pardoning of the former state governor Jolly Nyame by APC government will boost the chances of the party in the 2023 general election.
Meanwhile, Nigerian politicians have been encouraged to impact positively on the lives of people living around them so as to reduce hardship occasioned by the economic challenges facing the country. The chief imam of Ofa, Sheikh Muhyiddin Hussein, was delivering a Ramadan lecture in Ire when he made this statement.
It's a gathering of Muslim faithful in Ire and chief imams from different towns across the state. A lecture organized by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs at Debayo Adeleke. Speaking on the topic, responsibilities of politicians towards the citizens, the chief imam of Ofa, Sheikh Muhyiddin Hussein, described politicians as representatives of the people who must share from what God has blessed them with. According to him, a general rise in prices of food items has led to low purchasing power, and many can no more afford 3 square meals. The organizer, Debayo Adeleke, believes the annual lecture will go a long way in encouraging people to increase their good deeds, not only during this period, but after.
This is the month of Ramadan, and as a Muslim, it is our belief that during Ramadan, you gather people for them to get lecture from Islamic scholars. He told us the best way to do Ramadan, the best behavior for humankind, as said by the Prophet ﷺ.
The significance of the program is to mobilize people of this town for Islam, for the development of the town and for the government. And it's a good program towards development.
Wife of the state governor, Kafayat Oyetola, attended the event and has this advice for women.
Men is to take good care of themselves, take care of their husband, take care of their children, their future generation. There are lots of crimes in the States now. I want the parents to take good care of them, especially women, to look after the children so that they will not participate in the crime.
Special prayers were offered for the governor and the state. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Ire, Osun State.
To other stories now. The rains are here and the people of Ayetoro community in Ilaje local government area of Ondo are not happy with the rise in sea level, which always, or rather aggravates sea incursion in the area. Residents of the ravaged community want a permanent solution to the natural disaster that has rendered many homeless. Ayodeji Muradio reports.
Ocean surge has become a perennial crisis in Ayetoro, a coastal community in the oil-rich Ilaje local government area of Ondo State. Scenes like these have become a routine in the town, sweeping property, houses, among other things, away in its fury. This sea incursion is strengthening existence of this Asian community, which is on the verge of going into extinction. Over 1,000 houses have been submerged by the sea incursion, which always comes like a thief in the night to torment residents. With the rainy season gradually approaching, people of Ayitoro are in for another tough time, as the sea is expected to rise and bring more calamity to the community. People of the community are worried and appealing to the federal and state government to come to their rescue. They said they are tired of government inability to tackle the ravaging ocean surge once and for all.
Over the years, and in our presence and in the presence of these elders that toiled and labored to build this place, and it has destroyed half of the community.
Please, first of all help us by breaking the waves, because we have the most angry sea in the whole of Africa. Our soil nature is muddy, and it's very shallow. Because of the shallowness, it rolls and slams against buildings and destroys them.
They suggested a way out and want government to think in this direction.
If they can bring stones like they did in Escravos and Lagos and elsewhere, if they can bring big stones or rocks that are scattered all over on those states to come and help us arrange it so that it will stop the wave from coming directly to slam against the landscape of Ayitoro.
With the rains around the corner, people of Ayitoro need urgent intervention to save their community from being submerged. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Ayitoro.
And repeated gas flares to the environment and unabated oil spills have continuously been the talking points for oil companies and their host communities, sometimes ending in needless litigations. A non-governmental organization is now leading the charge for proper dialogue in the polluted environments by sensitizing the host communities in Delta as well as Bayelsa. Joseph Kunde has details and will return with business news.
Available data from the Nigerian Department of Petroleum Resources show that nearly 4.5 million barrels of crude oil were spilled between 1976 and 2021. Most damning of all, 77% of this oil has not been recovered and contaminates the local environment. These spills, coupled with years of gas flaring, has exposed communities in the Niger Delta to decades of unabated pollution, giving rise to health challenges and loss of livelihood among the local populace, who are mostly fishermen and farmers. This may be the reason the Health of Mother Earth Foundation, HOMEF, is seeking to educate individuals from host communities in Bayelsa and Delta states on oil and gas exploitation activities and the need for communities to speak up against the polluting activities in their areas. The perceived unabated activities of some operators and their effect on the livelihoods also took the front burner. HOMEF believes monitoring and reporting illegal activities remain the only way to checkmate exploitation, hence the need for continued dialogue and training of communities on the issue.
The majority of damages that occur in the Niger Delta region are as a result of equipment failure, not acts of sabotage. So if this article in the PIA is kept and is followed up to the latter, we will definitely see a situation where consistently communities will be denied benefits on account of disruption of oil operations.
Communities should be able to stand on their own and without rushing issues, understand the issues very well before they leave the ground. Say they are going to the court seeking environmental justice.
Training, they are giving the basic tools and the basic direction and guides on how best they can monitor, have the evidence and factual-based information to actually help them keep to what they are experiencing and push it to the public.
Crops we used to grow then, they don't produce as much anymore. We have been given the platform to advocate, to speak against this deplorable situation of our environment, so that we can take our case forward and get our environment restored back.
Well, some business news. The World Bank says increasing fuel subsidy puts the Nigerian economy at high risk, as subsidy payments could significantly impact public finance and pose debt sustainability concerns. The Washington-based lender in the new biannual report known as African Pulse disclosed that increasing fuel subsidies poses a high risk to the country's economic growth, despite the increase in oil prices. According to the bank, Nigeria is projected to have a 3.8% growth in 2022, adding that as an oil-dependent country, weak oil production hampers economic recovery. It added that high cost of fuel subsidies due to increase in oil price may deteriorate the country's fiscal balance. And in another news, the Nasarawa state government said it will continue to collaborate with the private sector to boost the state's economic structure and unlock its vast investment potential. Speaking earlier today on TVC News' flagship business program, Business Nigeria, the Nasarawa state governor, Mr. Abdullahi Sule, explains that the establishment of a favorable and enabling environment for increasing private sector investment has resulted in the creation of jobs, revenue generation, and overall economic development in the state. He had, however, attributed the surge in the state's internal generated revenue to the introduction of a central billing system for the collection of taxes across the state.
The first thing we did was really to go and realizing that we cannot continue to depend on the federal government for revenue. We started looking inwards. What do we need to do? So we took advantage of our proximity to the federal capital. We took advantage of new investments coming into the state and the rest of that. So it's a combination of so many things. Without really adopting new taxes or creating new taxes portfolios, we were able to move from the 2019 7.8 billion that you have mentioned to over 11 billion in 2020. And by 2021, with other revenues coming in, we are now able to go to 16.8 billion.
While commenting on the theme of the forthcoming Nasarawa State Investment Summit, the governor noted that the objective is to challenge the old ways of addressing its economic challenges with new innovative ideas leveraging its geography, people, and business climate.
Nasarawa State is a state with great potentials, and so that's why we say it's a diamond in the rough, because in reality it's a state with great potentials in the area of agriculture, with the best kind of soil that you can find that can grow so many kinds of crops. So Nasarawa State is one place where today we are the second largest producer of yams in the country. Today, we are number one in sesame production in the country. Today, if you look at it in the area of rice, we are number 5 in the country in rice production. And you can go on and on and on. And then, of course, we have some of these minerals that are some of the best that you can find. We have the best coal because it's a coking coal that we have in the state, which is yet to be known. We have some amounts of gold that we are now determining the quantity before we can invite a major investor. We are now in the production, actually, a mining of lead, zinc, and barite, all in the states, that we are doing. So it's a state with great potential that we are not yet explored, and that's why we are exploring them. So we are telling people that it's a new investment destination, and that's the whole idea about having this investment summit.
Moving on, after over 17 years of its abandonment, the federal government says it is going to complete the multi-billion-dollar brass liquefied natural gas project in Bayelsa State. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Timothy Silver, made this known during an inspection of the project site in Brass Town, Bayelsa State. Stated that the government is looking for investors to revive the stored gas project. According to the minister, the Brass LNG project, which has train 1 to 4 concept with an annual projected capacity of 8.4 million metric tons, when completed, will bring manifold economic benefits to the country's oil and gas industry. He, however, noted that the federal government will give the project top priority because of its present policy thrust of gas exploration across the country. Recall that the gas project was initiated in 2005 with a groundbreaking ceremony performed by former President Olusegun Obasanjo in May 14, 2007. The influx of fake and substandard goods into Nigeria is dangerous and injurious to local industries. Well, this was the focus of deliberations at a one-day sensitization forum convened by the Standards Organization of Nigeria. Ifunanya Eze reports.
Stakeholders of the country's trade supply chain are present at this forum, as deliberations center on why substandard goods are still making inroads into Nigeria's markets, despite efforts by the Standards Agency to tackle influx of inferior goods into the country.
The point of this gathering is to make sure that we try to sensitize each other on what we look out for. When we take products that are substandard, we are not doing it to spoil anybody's business. We are doing it to protect your business and protect the people you're bringing the products to.
They say the trend is unsustainable and is weakening the local manufacturing industry and poses a great danger to the citizens and the country's economy.
As trade holders, licensed custom brokers, we should not be involved in dishonesty in our declaration, such as concealment, inaccurate description of imports and exports, in order to circumvent the procedure, which are all impediments to achieving ease of doing business.
The problem is, when you bring substandard goods into the country, you sell them, our local factories, our local industries are destroyed gradually. And if they are destroyed gradually, it doesn't matter if you have $10 billion. You cannot drive that car in your town or in Lagos or in Kano, anywhere.
The agency warns that Nigeria cannot survive with the influx of substandard goods imported into the country, adding that it is killing the nation's economy. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, oil prices international market climbed to nearly 3 weeks high today as fears over tight global supplies grew, with the deepening crisis in Ukraine raising the prospects of heavier sanctions by the West on top exporters Russia. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a dip of 0.64% to hit $106.30 per barrel. Brent sells at $111, registering a downward price margin of 0.58%. Bonny Light's performance is in the green territory with a price surge of 0.29%, selling at $107.10 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude dealers offer $106.10, recording an uptick of 3.57%.